out this man meat right here.
Oh, no, not the
Man meat.
Welcome back to another strange and mysterious podcast. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, G. Introduce yourself, fellas.
Define 999. Want a fucking black eye to the face, bitch? Let's do this. Yeah, I'm feeling good, man.
And I'm McVice.
Nice. If you need advice, ask McVice.
No, don't.
Advice.
Don't.
It might not be the good advice, but it might be
I don't want them to go to jail, man.
But it might be the fun advice, right?
It'll be a good time, I promise. But you'll go to jail.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Hey, consequences and repercussions, right?
Yeah.
Yeehaw.
All right. Well, tonight, fellas, we have a pretty interesting one. Paranormal stories from World War I. Can you imagine all the shit they saw in that crazy environment? Ghosts, UFOs, chupacabra, all kinds of crazy shit.
Bro, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'd like to see violence.
All right, let's see what
you're going to get it tonight, Define, because they're already at war.
Yeah, let's do it. Woo!
True that.
Ready. Woo!
Woo!
Paranormal encounters in World War I. The 1,000-yard stare, the blank, emotionless expression soldiers displayed after experiencing the horrors of war, can be seen in countless faces in photographs from World War I. Detached and emotionally distant from reality, soldiers appear to be staring off into the distance, looking out into another world. Psychologists explain this phenomenon as a way trauma victims allow their brain to detach from their horrendous surroundings and cope with the stresses in their environment. Shell shock, another name for men showcasing these symptoms of confusion, fatigue, and impaired sight or hearing abilities, could render even the strongest person disheveled and helpless. It is no surprise then that these same battle-weary soldiers, with minds full of the horrors of war, claimed to see ghosts, ghouls, and even aliens in the dark recesses of battlefields.
Are those German soldiers
we would say
naked?
that these men were suffering from a stress reaction to constant bombardment, death, and chaos. However, at the time, shell shock and the 1,000-yard stare were seen as signs of cowardice and lack of moral fiber. Therefore, many soldiers did not receive the treatment they desperately needed to heal their ailing minds. In examining the paranormal encounters from the front lines of World War I, it is best to remember how broken and panicked the mind.
Hey, this guy right here. Did you get shot? No, I just fell down. I'm hurt.
Oh my God, that guy's got a fucking leg off over there.
Yeah,
shit.
the other guy's like, I got a stomach ache.
And why does he have a kilt on under his uniform? Come on.
Scottish. They're Scottish.
We understand that, you got to be practical in the fucking trenches of World War I. God damn it.
Hey, I ate some bad frites. I don't feel very good.
Yeah, he's not feeling good, clearly.
Minds of the men who reported them were wild men/ghouls. One of the creepiest tales among soldiers fighting in World War I was the myth of wild men who lived in no man's land. It was believed that crazed, unhinged bands of deserters inhabited the haze of battlefields. Soldiers often reported seeing dark figures moving swiftly across the horizon line at night. These ghouls, as many men described them, supposedly sunk down in the mud to avoid being seen and only emerged from their hiding spots to loot dead bodies, or by some accounts, to feed upon corpses. Theories about the wild men differed, with some maintaining that they were soldiers who renounced war and were just trying to survive, and others who believed that there truly were cannibalistic lunatics who stalked around battlefields at night. Perhaps a very real reason for the origin of this story was officers' intention to scare soldiers away from deserting their post. If men were convinced that monsters in the mist lurked just outside their lines, they would be more hesitant to run for the hills when the thick of battle overcame them. What doesn't help the tale's believability is that the earliest record of the story came from a 1920 memoir, only becoming a sensation well after the war had ended. Red Baron and the UFO.
Brokeback Mountain, the soldier. Don't leave your post, guys.
I wouldn't leave your post. Not at all.
Stick with it. No. Yeah.
It's funny that like those type myths actually would work on soldiers, but you know, when you're 1,000 miles away, 500 miles or wherever you're at, and you feel you don't know where you're at, right? The environment.
Yeah.
Stories like that might just keep you in check from having you like leave the battlefield, right?
Yeah, exactly. And remember, we have to understand that in this modern environment that we live in, early on, we had book presses, we had newspapers. You know, even during World War I, a newspaper will inform someone within weeks at a time. It's not like now with the internet where we can immediately fact check a piece of news or information. Mm-hmm. You can keep people under control by simply dominating their whole mediascape of what they're hearing and saying, yeah, guess what? There's fucking zombies out there. They're eating people. They're eating soldiers. You know what I mean? People are so much easily controlled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're only eating deserters. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit.
Deserters? Anyone?
Right.
It's easy for us to be like, oh God, you know, someone should have known they're being taken advantage of. But
I'm just saying, man, if I'm like an officer and I'm using that as a fake story, I'm like, hey, they're eating people who desert. They're people who fall asleep at their posts. Like, so don't fall asleep in your foxhole, motherfucker. Or you can get eaten by a fucking zombie, bitch. If your aim sucks, it's gonna come get you, motherfucker. Like your aim better be on point, bitch. Like,
you better not aim high, Willis. You better not aim high.
It's just crazy. It's crazy, but it's believable.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh. Famed German fighter pilot Baron Manfred von Richthofen, also known as the Red Baron, is mostly known for his stunning accomplishments against Allied aircraft and universally recognized flying capabilities. However, he is also known for possibly shooting down a UFO in 1917 in a Fokker triplane. Fellow German pilot Peter Weitstrick recalls how he and the Red Baron came across an aircraft like an upside-down saucer during an early morning mission over Belgium and immediately opened fire on it. The Red Baron hit the unusual-looking aircraft and watched as it violently crashed through the trees and hit the ground below. Astonishingly, it is reported that two humanoid figures frantically exited the UFO and raced into the woods. It should be mentioned, though, the story first appeared in a satirical magazine called Weekly World News in 1999. And as Patrick Gross has found, there is no record of a Peter Weitstrick having ever existed. Moreover, the Fokker triplane the Red Baron was said to have used did not exist yet. Richthofen was known to have been using his deadly Albatros D3 at that time instead.
Well, you know, that's probably most likely a farce, right? It's not real.
Yeah.
But there were sightings of UFOs, right? Does anybody remember what they're called?
No.
Foo Fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Foo Fighters. So the Americans and Germans would see these UFOs during battle, and the Americans, or I think the Germans, must have named them Foo Fighters, and they all thought that they were each other's UFOs, or like not UFOs, but like advanced weapons, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the band, of course, got their name from, Foo Fighters.
Yeah. And the Foo Fighters played in Roswell. Did you know that, Gabe?
No, I didn't know that. Their record label is Roswell Records.
Yeah, so they played at, there's a famous hangar 18 in Roswell.
Oh, yeah.
Where supposedly the aliens were kept. And they did a concert there. And my buddies, I had already left Roswell. I was in Dallas at the time, but they said it was amazing. They put on just a local concert, and everyone could come and check it out, and it was great.
That's pretty cool. You know, we definitely have to do an episode about the Roswell incident. I think there's a lot of good information about it. What we definitely have to touch on, but yeah, the Foo Fighters definitely were there. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Had you ever heard of the Foo Fighters before, McVice?
Yeah, but I thought that was more of a World War II thing than a World War I thing.
I don't know.
I thought Foo Fighters came to be in World War II. I'd never really heard of any UFO sightings in World War One.
Let's see.
But I was gonna say this. They say, like the Peter Von, whatever the hell his last name was, there's no records of him. Like, how easy would it have been back then to erase someone from history,
Yeah, it'd be pretty easy.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, who's to say that didn't really happen, I don't know.
You are correct, Mr. McVice. It's only World War II. I couldn't find World War One.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of a World War One UFO sighting. So that's an interesting story.
Yeah, that's very
makes you wonder if there are more sightings during World War One.
Well, yeah, and then to say, to talk about, alien or UFOs at that time period is interesting, right?
Oh yeah.
So to even have that kind of thought, I wonder what the earliest speculation of UFO / their idea of those being connected to beings outside of our world were.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember we saw that one for I think from Belgium where they had those, spheres fighting in the sky.
Yeah.
Did they think that they were, alien craft? Did they think, I don't know what they were thinking at the time, right? But what was the first idea that people came from outer space with these things? I know one of them that I can go back to that we did a show was the Aurora, Texas crash. Remember where they had seen the object hit the windmill, and when they got there, right, they had found that little dude or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, I don't know if anybody ever connected that they were from outer space or if they thought that UFOs were from outer space earlier than 1900. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that begs a deeper question. Like, when did people start trying to correlate UFOs to outer space?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's been sightings for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think they always thought they were things from outer space. I think people thought they were fallen angels before and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Chariots of the gods.
The Chariots of the Gods. Good. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, let's continue.
Do it.
The Valkyrie. First spotted by Lieutenant Frederick Ardsley, flying a patrol route in northern France when he saw an identical Scout Experimental 5 biplane next to him. The Valkyrie was a female pilot with long golden hair. According to Ardsley, she removed her goggles, let out a piercing and stared at him with cornflower blue eyes before blowing him kisses and performing a can dance on the edge of her cockpit. Ardsley attempted to compete with her, and her abilities were too great, and she easily outmaneuvered him. At one point, the Valkyrie aircraft, which featured a golden symbol for Venus on the fuselage, climbed into a bank of clouds at an altitude of 20,000 feet, and Ardsley was forced to make a controlled dive back down because his plane stalled. The legend was catapulted into the press when German pilot Albert Roll claimed that he had been shot down by a red-nosed SE-5 biplane that was flown by a woman with blonde hair. Soon, many other German pilots claimed to have seen a ferocious female pilot who hunted the skies with unparalleled skills. However, Arch Whitehouse, the World War I veteran and aviation novelist, had a different take.
He was telling his fellow soldier, don't ever trust a big button to smile.
Like, bro.
That girl is poison.
Poison.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Poison.
House believed that the Valkyrie myth began as a joke between young pilots who were trying to lighten up the dreariness of war. Supposedly, these pilots decided to put on a theatrical performance at Christmas for a squadron party, and some were forced to dress up as women for the play. Jumping into the cockpits of their biplanes, the men dressed as women got quite a laugh from their comrades, and the enduring image of a bombshell blonde piloting an aircraft began.
Hey, the thirst was real, man. Them boys ain't seen girls in a while. They're like,
trap.
Shit,
put a dude in, put a wig on a dude. He's hotter than shit. Thirst trap.
According to the historian Nigel Watson, however, there's no evidence of Ardsley having existed either. Further, the lieutenant is said to have been in the 49th Squadron, which did not use SE-5 biplanes. Ghost at Ypres. On a December night in 1915, near Ypres in Belgium, a man named William Spade was enjoying another bitterly cold night in the trenches when the most unexpected thing happened to him. Sitting down by a faint candlelight, Spade felt the presence of another in his company. Turning, Spade was horrified to find the ghost of his friend, who he had seen die on the battlefield. The apparition of his friend said nothing to him and disappeared just as quickly as he had been standing in front of Spate. The next night, Spate asked for another officer to sit with him in case the ghost of his friend reappeared. To his surprise, the ghost reappeared, only this time with a message for him. Motionless, it pointed to a spot on the floor, before vanishing once again, not knowing what to make of.
Don't step there. I pooped there. They bad.
Yes.
That's not mud. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, why does he sound like he's from fucking Arnold? Why does he sound like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, man? Is he fucking?
You know, Arnold.
Is he back in World War I
movies?
Oh God!
Hey Arnold, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
We can kill it. That's true, but
I ain't got time to bleed.
He had to split. Don't wake my friend.
No man.
They're tired.
No man.
Don't wait. Yeah, that's my favorite. Don't wake my friend. He's dead tired. His fucking neck is broke, bro. He's dead tired. His whole fucking neck is separated from his body.
Hey, remember in The Running Man? He's like, hey, how about the light?
Yeah. Dude, those classic
movies
80s,
are the best, dude.
Those 80s classic 80s movies.
They'll never be able to make those again.
No. They're a moment in time.
Yep.
I agree.
Spate ordered some of his men to dig a hole where the ghost had pointed. Miraculously, the soldiers found a tunnel had been dug under them and rigged with massive amounts of explosives. The bombs were quickly defused, and the soldiers thanked the Spectre who had saved them. This incident was first described in a 1919 war-themed short story competition for Pearson's magazine.
Interesting.
It gained credibility when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle referenced it in his History of Spiritualism collection. Cossacks in Britain. Civilians, not just soldiers, were also capable of experiencing paranormal encounters. One of the most interesting records of mass hysteria comes from the persistent myth among British civilians that millions of Cossacks from the Russian army were on their way to Britain. First, in late August 1914, local newspapers reported sightings of fierce-looking men with beards and fur hats traveling on trains through Britain. Then, the stories gained traction, and international newspapers were soon detailing how almost 1 million Russian soldiers were passing through Britain on their way to France. People everywhere were claiming to find traces of the Russians. Stories of chocolate machines jammed up by rubles, warriors marching toward London Bridge Station, and cries for vodka from train cars were on everyone's lips. When British services learned the rumors were false, they did not censor them, which aided the Allies. The cautious German command committed 2 divisions to...
Hey, Where are the Russians at? Just follow the cries for vodka. The vodka! Hey, is that chocolate machine broke? Goddamn Russians.
Shit.
Where's the vodka, motherfucker? That's where the Russians are.
Raposki, we must find all the chocolate machines in Britain.
If you find the wrappers of chocolates, you find the Russians. Quite simple.
Yeah.
Guard the Belgian coast against the supposed Cossack reinforcements. Unknown to the Germans and the general populace in the US and Britain, there was no great Russian army moving against Germany from Britain. Only after the Germans made a tactical retreating move that cost them the battle at Marne did the British government issue a statement that the stories of Cossacks in Britain were fake. However, by this time, the story had gotten so big that many continued to believe it. In reality, there were indeed massive amounts of soldiers traveling from the north of Britain to the southern ports, but they were British reservists. These battalions had been given orders to pull the shades down on their train carriages and travel at night to keep their whereabouts a secret. Furthering the myth, some battalions of the British force spoke thick dialects, such as Gaelic, which many mistook as Russian. When studying the myths and paranormal encounters of World War I, it is more tragic than scary to see how war affected their minds and ensured that there were no survivors. Everyone who participated in World War I was a casualty of the war and had to carry the burden of their trauma with them for the rest of their life. While modern audiences can look at these soldiers' ghost stories and find a plausible explanation for the men involved, there was no explanation for the senseless violence, destruction, and chaos they lived through every day. As everything they thought they knew about themselves and the world around them was shattered, everything became possible. From aliens to ghosts.
So, what do y'all think? Like, have you guys ever heard of like paranormal events that happened, in war?
Yes.
What's one of them that you know, McVice?
Vietnam. Actually, Vietnam and Afghanistan. So in Vietnam, supposedly, you guys can look this up. Soldiers, especially like long range reconnaissance patrols, have stories of encountering rock apes like in the deep jungles, along with like spiders that were like 6 feet in diameter and shit like that, and creatures that you'd say are akin to the predator and stuff like that. Okay, and then Afghanistan, giants, vampires. Back to Vietnam. So get this. Initially, this is when the U.S. military introduced night vision goggles. So the first iteration of night vision goggles were in the red spectrum. And, the only ones who got it, they were like the special ops guys. And they would report seeing like these demonic looking beings like flying aside the helicopters and stuff like that. And at first, like the officers, they weren't wearing them. Only like their, enlisted soldiers were wearing them. Until so many reports started happening that during these flights, sometimes the officers would put the goggles on themselves and they'd see this shit themselves, and they reported it back. Everyone thought they were going crazy or whatever the fuck. But eventually, the Army during Vietnam switched to green night vision goggles, and the problem went away. It's just interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Is there like a spectrum difference between red and green?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Interesting.
So with the red spectrum, they could see these entities, but in the green spectrum, they couldn't.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How about you? How about you, Define? Have you ever heard anything that was paranormal?
Yeah, and what's funny is right in along with what McVice is talking about, my Uncle Henry, he tells his story about how he was in the airborne and he was in Vietnam. Basically around the same time that my father was, and they were airborne, and they were in a field, And he remembers these lights coming down and splitting into different pieces and doing all this crazy stuff. And of course, because they were war orientated, they immediately were like, okay, what the fuck's going on? You know, like there were. But what was interesting about it, if I remember my Uncle Henry's story accurately, he was like, we knew right away that whatever it was, we all freaked out or we all did whatever, but we knew very quickly that whatever it wasn't VC, it wasn't Northern Vietnam, it wasn't Russian, it wasn't Chinese, it wasn't nothing like that. These fucking things were doing things that were not possible.
Another one that sticks out to me, this wasn't really during war per se, but it's the one that we saw in Mexico where the Mexican Air Force was flying, pretty high altitude, and with their bare eyes, they couldn't see anything out there. But when they switched to the, the infrared, they could see all those objects, but they couldn't see them with their naked eye. So,
man.
Those are just two that I remember. One from a long time ago, and one more recent. But I'm sure there's plenty of stories out there.
Oh, dude, definitely.
There's this guy, man.
To do a whole subject on paranormal. War, we would have a lot. So
but see, with infrared, it is a different spectrum. There's this guy, man. I came across him years ago. I don't remember his name. He's like a researcher for UFOs and all that good stuff, but he actually used to have talks, and at the end of the talk, he would take people to the roof of a building, and he had a pair of night vision goggles in the infrared spectrum. And supposedly you could just see all kinds of things that you just can't see with your bare eyes and all kinds of stuff, I don't remember this guy's name, though. I really don't. I wish I did.
It's just a lot of information, so.
Yeah, because these goggles aren't cheap, dude. So it's not like anyone's just gonna have them, I don't even know if anyone can just buy them, honestly.
Well, you can find infrared military. You can find military grade NVDs.
Yeah,
but they're going to be expensive. Come say hi to our strange and mysterious people. Come here.
What up? What up,
This is
Heather?
my wife.
Hi.
I can't hear anything because he's got his headphones
She can't hear
on.
anything because I've got the headphones.
We're saying hi right now.
They're saying hi right now.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola, hola.
She's sweet.
Matthew's drunk.
I'm drunk.
Yeah, he is.
Are we okay with that?
Matthew's drunk.
I'm okay with it. My wife seems to be.
He loves me because he's drunk.
Huh?
Only because he's drunk?
Probably.
He loves me.
17 years of drunken loveness.
Yeah.
There you go. It's the tequila.
Oh, so that's how
tequila.
that stuff works. Okay.
Still keeps it kicking.
Almost.
I guess I need to get drunk more often.
You
If
do.
I want to find love. Okay.
You know what? Once you find the love, if you're meshing in all levels, you can go and you can get drunk and you can just be. It's like I liken it to like two pieces of like taffy, and you just warm them up and stick them together and just do this shit.
I want you to show me.
You will find it, my brother.
Let me react.
Oh, McVice wants to find love, but he's not finding it.
Yep. McVice wants to find love. He needs some advice.
I want you to show
hold on.
me.
Okay, McVice doesn't know what love
I
is.
want to know.
Yeah, he needs some
love
advice.
feels. Oh, sorry.
He
I'll
wants to
continue.
know
Yeah.
how love feels. And I told him, I said, it's like you take two pieces of like warm taffy and you just stick it together and just rub it up together like that.
Rub it up.
That's a teenage dream. That's like a boy dream.
Well,
That's not
How to crush Matthew in 2 seconds.
Dang, I know. Now I really don't know what it is.
that's what I thought love was. We're just sticking that shit in together.
Am I the only piece of the shit show holding this together?
Wow.
Hey, he wants to know that Eddie Money love. Take me home tonight.
Nah, man, I want that white snake love. Like,
Oh, shit.
I'm feeling. Make it a power ballad, bro. Fuck
With that long hair.
Fuck yeah.
Wind's blowing.
While I'm driving my Trans Am. Hell yeah.
Yup.
The end of this podcast has taken an interesting turn. We were actually talking about World War I paranormal phenomena.
Oh yeah, we were.
World War One.
Oh yeah, there's plenty.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
We'll have to dig deeper into it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been our podcast. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Later.
Bye.
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 Check out this man meat right here.
Oh no, not the
Man meat.